Hello, welcome back to Bite Size Dentistry. I am Dr. Shrey, and today we are going to be talking about the absolute giant 3M. We're going to talk about how they became the dominant force to provide such fantastic products that they're the gold standard in every vertical that they enter, including dentistry. We're also going to talk about how they stayed there, what kind of innovative thinking led to them being such a dominant force in the market. So with that, let's get started with episode 1, Bite Size Dentistry Companies. Let's go. Now, most people don't know this, but 3M actually stands for Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing. Interestingly, in 1902, this company called 3M was founded in order to pursue carborundum. They were trying to mine carborundum, which we all know is an abrasive, and they couldn't. While mining it, they actually ended up finding the wrong material, and then they realized the importance of dedicating R&D, because they used that failure to develop an absolutely legendary product. I'm sure you've heard of it, sandpaper. Yes, 3M actually developed sandpaper and patented it under the name Wet and Dry, and that's how the innovative journey of 3M started. So once they had these abrasives that they had mined, they realized that they needed to stick those abrasives onto something, and that led to venturing into adhesives. And as we know today, they have the #1 sold dental bonding agent of all time, which is Adperbond. Absolutely. So the 3M Adperbond is the #1 sold adhesive of all time. And subsequent to adhesives, they went on to polishing systems, they developed Softlex, and every time they did that, they made sure to focus heavily on R&D to make sure that their product was not only top quality, but had been tested and researched absolutely in depth, keeping in mind clinical applicability every single time. So one cool thing that 3M does as a company, which is kind of a teaching experience and something worth listening to and learning from, is that they encourage their employees to spend 15% of their time messing around and experimenting on innovative ideas, hoping that they fail so that people can learn from their failures or adapt those failures to learn more about certain materials. A classic example of it is the #1 stationery product sold in the world, which is the Post-it notes. Now the Post-it notes, the story behind it is a guy came up with an adhesive. That adhesive was pretty shit. It wasn't really good. It didn't stick very well. But somebody else had the idea of putting it on paper and having a Post-it note that you can stick and remove without damaging the substrate below it. And that is the essence of innovation at 3M. So finally in the 1960s, 3M took the deep dive and entered the dental industry in a big way. They acquired a company called ESP and founded 3M ESP, which developed materials specifically for dentistry. This ranged all the way from adhesives to composites to GICs, resin cements, polishing, and subsequently to zirconia crowns, 3M lava, and all of those products. But their main leader, the one that really made them famous, was the Z100 composite, right? Today, the Z350 XT is one of the most amazing composites in the market. It has fantastic handling. So this is not a product review, but that Z350 has this unique characteristic of having one of the best micro polish surface and abrasion resistances in the entire industry. Now, why that makes them unique, why did 3M choose to optimize for that characteristic, is because a filling done or a veneer done with Z350 has the ability to retain its shine longer and better than almost any material on the market. That's the thing about 3M. They pick the characteristic that probably makes the maximum difference in a clinical scenario and optimize that. And that's one of the things that I love about 3M as a company. Over the years, they continue to leverage their experience and their expertise in the adhesive field. They developed the Keytac series, which is the Keytac Molar, the Keytac Sem, the Keytac Luting Agent, as well as I think the Keytac Plus, which is their RMGIC. Then they developed the Relay X series, which is their resin cements, where they have the Relay X Unisem, Relay X2, a Relay X Plus, the RMGIC version, and subsequently developed their zirconia, as well as tools to mill those zirconias, and subsequently polishing abrasives to polish those zirconias in order to provide like a vertically integrated entire system where an entire clinic can just be a 3M clinic. So while 3M does over a $50 billion of business throughout the world, its dental vertical is worth about $8 billion, and in India it does about 600 crores worth of business per year. Now that's a phenomenal amount, and it's pretty nuts, but 3M is being sold in 200 countries, and their leadership has been absolutely stellar. Their R&D has been so cool. It's an aspirational company for a young scientist to work at, and it's even an aspirational company for dentists to have as products in their practice. So here are a few takeaways from the 3M story, right? The giant that climbed the beanstalk and dominated all of dentistry. Number one, it's probably a good idea to spend 15% of your time on the business rather than spending all of your time in the business. Sometimes activities that don't directly lead to revenue are actually really useful for your business or your personal development. For example, if you spend a little bit of your time taking courses, upgrading your skills, maybe actually looking at how you can optimize the flow of patients in your clinic, or even watch the channel of Bite Size Dentistry, you never know what kind of magic that will unlock for your life and your practice. Secondly, if you're starting a company, you need to understand that the market leaders are always the ones that are focused on providing material at whatever price point that they can justify with their quality, right? Whether it is Invisalign, whether it is Straumann, whether it is 3M, whether it is Dentsply, all of these people, their gross revenues are much larger than the smaller companies. And while the smaller companies might have a larger capture share of the market, these are the guys who are taking the money home. So if you want to be a dominant player in your market, think of quality rather than trying to reduce your bottom line by getting cheaper material. The third and final point, I think, is about trying to find synergies. If you do something well and there is an aspect that you can introduce into it, you can find two things that work well together. For example, let's say you do pretty good crown preps and you're proud of how well you do crown preps. At that point in time, don't just stop there. Start using retraction. Start using hemostatic agents. Get a scanner. Take your scans and your crown preps to the absolute next level, because that's where the real game starts. Thank you guys at 3M for providing us all the materials that we need and putting in all this R&D and everything. I mean, I'm not being paid for this video. Maybe I should be, but I just made this because I thought 3M was such an inspiring company to talk about for our first episode of Bite Size Dentistry. So if you like this video, please hit the like and subscribe button, share this with a colleague, and don't forget to geek out the next time somebody mentions 3M just like the way I do, and don't forget to tell them that it stands for Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing. I hope you guys have an awesome day, and don't forget to be awesome.